So I got a call that the devil can't cancel. There's a preordained, personalized process with the power to make me perfect. But number three, the reason I know it's working is even when people try to make me feel unworthy. Pastor Brown, I understand that God does not call the qualified, but God qualifies the call. God help me. Jesus. I said the reason I know that it's working is because even when people try to make me feel unworthy to preach this gospel, I understand that God does not call the already qualified, but it is God's power that qualifies the call. Can I bring it down to you? The reason that you're anointed to do what you do is not because you're perfect, but it's because God's perfecting power is working through you. That's why you can know the message that you know about me, and I'm still anointed. I can still preach. I can still sing. You can still lead worship. You can still do what it is God called you to do, because you're not working on your own power. You're working on God's power. As a matter of fact, touch your neighbor. This is number two. On the third one, we're going to shout. Touch your neighbor and say, it ain't me. Yeah, it ain't me. You wondering how I do it, but baby, it ain't me. That's why I'm able to do what I do, because I'm able to decrease that he might increase. God, can I preach it like I feel it? Paul said we have this treasure in the earthen vessels, that the excellency of the power would be of God and not of us. That's why I can be at work today, almost cuss out my supervisor, but coming here tonight and say, thus saith the Lord, it's because God's power is working on the inside. And is there anybody here that can say it's his power that lets me do what I do? If it was up to me, I would have cut you a long time ago. If it was up to me, I would have punched you in your face the first time I heard you was talking stuff about me. If it was about me and not about God, I would have beat your tail the first time I heard you was talking about my family. But since God is on the inside of me, that's why you're still standing. God help me. I didn't say that's why I'm still standing. I said it's God. That's the reason you still stand. Because if God hadn't held me back, it would have been some mess up in the church. But I was able to look past your fake face and say, this is the day that the Lord has made. God help me. So God does not call the qualified, but rather he qualifies the call. God does not call you because you're perfect. But when he calls you, he initiates you into the process of making you into who it is he's called you to be. God, can I tell you, the thing that I love about God is when God calls you, he does not call you based off of where you are, but he calls you based off of where he wants you to be. God help me. When he called Gideon, Gideon was a coward hiding, threshing wheat in his father's wine, threshing wheat on his father's wine press. And God found him hiding from his enemies and called him a mighty man of valor. Gideon looked around and said, who are you talking about? You can't be talking about me. But God said, I'm talking to you. And is there anybody here, God's called you a preacher, a psalmist, a worship leader, a prophetess, a pastor, an evangelist, a mighty man, a mighty woman of God, and you looking at God like he crazy. God, you can't be talking about me. God, you ain't talking to me. But God says, I'm not calling you. Yeah, if I was calling you based off of where you were, I would be tripping. But thank God I don't trip because I'm God. And can I tell you what is the blessing about God's power? God creates by speaking. So when God calls you, what you're going to be, what you're going to be becomes what you are. God help me. Even if it doesn't feel like it, you've already been transformed. God is just waiting for you to have the faith to walk into it. That's why on all my status updates, I always ask you if you've got faith. Because if you've got faith, you can walk into your tomorrow right now. If you've got faith, you can grasp your destiny right now. If you've got faith, you can say to this mountain, be thou removed and be thou cast into the sea, and you'll never have to see that mountain again. Is there anybody here that can help me real quick and say, I've got faith? Yeah, that's why I'm here tonight on a Friday with the power to make me perfect. I got a call that the devil can't cancel, but can I give you the last thing? We're going to get up out of here. The last reason I know that it's working is because I'm connected to a king that continually causes me to come out with the victory. I said I'm connected to a king that continually causes me to come out with the victory. Check this out. What then shall we say? Verse 31. To all these things, if God be for us, who can be against us? God help me. God says, because you're connected to me, you know that it's got to work out for your good. God help me. Can I tell you what shouts me in this text? I promise I won't get deep in theological no more after this point. It's all practical after this. But when he uses the term, Paul begins to write, and theologians debate that Paul was not able to find